We're seeing, like the city of Regina continuing with indoor facilities. We've got people in Swift Current working indoors, and it's just kind of spreading. Everybody's like, hey, where can we train indoors so we can get better at the game of baseball? So it's been great.
Welcome to episode 262 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We start off with an announcement of our own as we are proud to officially launch Saskatchewan Dugout Stories today, Thursday, February 8th. We look forward to expanding our storytelling efforts to help tell the game stories in the prairies. So we're going to do things a little differently on the show this week as we're going to focus almost solely on our neighbors to the east. We have our own Ian Wilson on deck and Baseball Sask's Greg Bronze in the hole. But first, the news, and we'll start by congratulating the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's class of 2024. The induction announcement was made on Tuesday with former Medicine Hat Blue Jays hurler Jimmy Key and Baseball Canada icon and episode 199 guest Ashley Stevenson joining former MLB All-Star Russell Martin, national team pitching legend Rod Heisler, former Blue Jays president and CEO Paul Godfrey, and longtime Toronto baseball executive Howard Burney. The induction ceremony is slated for June 15th in St. Mary's, Ontario. A couple of Academy players here in Alberta are getting invites to Major League Baseball spring training camps. Dogs Academy alum Tristan Peters will be going to main camp with Tampa Bay Rays, while Vauxhall Academy grad Damiano Palmagiani is heading to Dunedin with the Toronto Blue Jays. Congratulations going out to Dogs Academy product Cesar Valero on being named as one of 12 players on the preseason All-Western Athletic Conference team. The senior outfielder is expected to be a big-time producer this season for Sacramento State. The college baseball season is well underway now, with several more schools getting going last weekend. Among the highlight performances, Sherwood Park and AHP Academy product Lincoln Butt came out of the pen for Pratt Community College and picked up the win by throwing 3 shutout innings, allowing no hits while striking out 5. Calgary's Cohen Aiken has started his 2024 season the same way his 2023 season finished, by striking out a bunch of batters, of course. He had 14 Ks in just 6 innings of work as his Lindsey Wilson Raiders beat up on St. Andrews 10-1. It's also been announced Aiken will be heading to the London Majors for his summer baseball season. And on the commitment front, a couple of moves being made by Dogs Academy products. Zach Bedard is making his first college stop with Mesa Community College, while Andrew Franzen is taking the next step in his baseball journey, heading from Williston State to the University of Minnesota at Morris. All right, to the big news on the ADS front. Welcome to Saskatchewan Dugout Stories. You can check out the new website at saskatchewandugoutstories.com, and we have our social media accounts up and running as well. We are admittedly going to start slow and get a good cadence in terms of writing and delivering stories for 2 provinces now. It also leverages the connections we made through the WCBL while also serving a province that has a real love for baseball storytelling, as witnessed by the few stories we have done with Saskatchewan connections already. So let's get into it with ADS and now SDS co-founder Ian Wilson. And Ian, let's start here. How excited are you that the day is finally here?
I'm pretty pumped. It's funny because we've talked about this for a while. It's kind of been percolating for a bit. We've had people asking us if we could do this, and something we wanted to instigate and initiate and bring to life. And here we are. It's game day, baby.
I was trying to think back actually on when we initially had the conversations, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was the end of the WCBL Championship Series, Okotoks and Moose Jaw 2022. We were sitting above the first base dugout in Siemens Stadium, and I feel like we started talking about a few different things, and I even went on social media afterwards and threw, hey, if we were to expand on Alberta Dugout Stories, what would you like to see? And there was a few people who were like, hey, football, or hey, hockey, or hey, basketball, or soccer. And this just seemed like a really natural progression to me. And we like you said, we talked about Saskatchewan for a while in that conversation. When did it turn for you, though? Like that was like a year and a half ago. We've kind of had this on again, off again conversation. But when did it turn for you where you went, yeah, let's do Sasky?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'll actually start with where my trepidation and some of my reluctance was when the subject would come up. And we did, and usually would be other people asking us
Hmm.
about that. And for me, it was, well, I went to school in Regina, you know, go University of Regina Cougars, but I studied journalism there and I had a great time in Regina, loved it. But I'm an Alberta guy.
Hmm.
I grew up in Alberta, born in Alberta, grew up in Alberta. I'm an Albertan. Proudly so. Um, so I was like, can we with integrity and sincerity represent Saskatchewan in the way it deserves?
Hmm.
Because Saskatchewan's awesome. Like I've been crossing over to football, which you name dropped there. You go to back in the day it was Taylor Field, but you go watch a CFL game in Saskatchewan, you see
Hmm.
the passion for sports there. That's one example, right? You go to some of the WHL hockey markets there, there's a passion there.
Hmm.
And then through the Western Canadian Baseball League, we've seen some of the baseball passion there. So I didn't want to start this venture from afar and be, oh, here's the Alberta guys, trying to rep Saskatchewan
Hmm.
and do it. Like I said, I didn't want to do that um, without it being sincere and genuine and just telling stories in the right way. And I think we've laid the groundwork for Alberta dugout stories, and we've got a reputation that I'm proud of. I hope you are too.
Hmm. If I wasn't, I
And
wouldn't be doing this.
yeah, yeah, and I think after a while, I started thinking, well, why not? And then the more that we have been involved with the WCBL, it's kind of like you're doing these stories on Alberta players and Alberta athletes and coaches and Alberta teams. And you've got these Saskatchewan teams and Saskatchewan athletes in the same league doing some of the same stuff. And you're like, well, that doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right that we're not shining a spotlight on some of the athletes right next door to us in the same on the same circuit and giving them their proper due. So I hope through this we're able to do that, not just in the WCBL, but with the baseball scene there. So, I just didn't want to come to it from an ignorant spot. I think I wanted us to be informed about Saskatchewan and also portray that. And I want Saskatchewan baseball fans to be proud of some of the stuff that we're able to put together
Hmm.
and liking what they're seeing.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Like when you think back on, especially the history element, and I'll harken back to even 1907 in the Western Canada League and 1920 Western Canada League championship between the Calgary Broncos and Regina Senators. Like those were very contentious. That was a very contentious series, but when I was doing a lot of that research work, I realized there was a lot of crossover between Alberta and Saskatchewan to begin with, dating all the way back 100 plus years. So to your point, as we were kind of diving through and it really kind of turned for me, same kind of thing is I again didn't want to sit there and pretend like, hey, we're in Saskatchewan and we can do these and we're covering the stories properly, but we've realized that whether it's through our travels to Medicine Hat or I know this summer we're both looking at trips out to Saskatoon and Regina and Moose Jaw and trying to plan what a road trip might look like to see a few different ballparks in a short amount of time. Being able to see people and chat with people again, and especially coming out of the pandemic, it kind of felt like, okay, we've got this opportunity. People are really excited to see us, and we've still got that name recognition, to your point. And one of the things that really turned for me where I went, okay, there's something here, to your point, after the 2023 WCBL All-Star game, talking to the coaches and the fans and the players and them all saying, we know what you're doing. We love what you're doing. Wish we had the same thing in our neck of the woods. And then even after the season and talking to people from other provinces, Ontario and Manitoba and BC, and they're all saying the same thing. And I'm going, okay, maybe this baseball thing is where our head needs to be at. And I felt like the marriage between Alberta and Saskatchewan maybe made the most sense for us because we were already dabbling in that. We were already, to your credit, doing stories on Andrelton Simmons and Marco Gonzalez and some of the other guys that made their way through. And now you see what Andrew Albers is doing and Dustin Mulliken. And there's that interplay already there. Greg Morrison's originally from the Unity area. Like there's a lot of back and forth. So this really, to me, made sense. So when I look at what we're looking to do here, what's enticing about Sasky in your eyes? What kinds of stories are you really looking forward to diving into here over the coming weeks and months as we build the next iteration of Dugout Stories?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know a couple things that come to mind right away. I know some of the historical pieces I've done, thinking of some of the Negro League stars who came through Western Canada. And, I'd be doing the research on these stories and then it'd be like, you'd read all this Saskatchewan material, maybe Winnipeg as well, and you'd be like, oh, that's a great story, but that's not Alberta, so you kind of like our focus is Alberta. I can't, I'd still include it in the story, but it just seems like there'd be these anecdotes and aspects from Saskatchewan that are like relevant and great. Satchel Paige came through there. John Donaldson came through there, among many other Negro League stars. And so, this is kind of exciting to know that I don't have to be like, well, it's just Saskatchewan this time. These stars, maybe they came to Alberta, but they spent most of the time in Saskatchewan, so we can't do that story or things like that. It just seems like it's more inclusive now with some of those historical pieces, which I love. And then speaking of the All-Star game last year, who is a big star headed into that game? Dawson Tweet, Miller Express. He's in the middle of a hitting streak, a record hitting streak at that point. He's batting, I think he was batting 400 at the time. And, the idea of not, we did a story on Dawson Tweet. We covered that, but the idea of excluding that because he's, playing for a Saskatchewan team or things like that just seems kind of silly. And then one of the guys I really wanted to talk to the All-Star game last year was Ethan Murdoch. I was just like, keep an eye on this guy. This guy seems to be, he's got a good reputation. He's doing good things in the league. His little brother's the bat boy with Swift Current, and these are good stories. So again, within the confines of the WCBL, it's a 2-province league, and that's we want to rep that and tell those stories as well as we can. And like I said, with the historical pieces, I'm always a sucker for those. So it's nice to know, hey, Terry Poole, Astros legend, welcome to the family.
Reggie Cleveland, we got you in our sights, right? And it's funny too, like even today as we record this on Wednesday night, today was National Girls and Women in Sport Day. And I threw it back to our story about the 10 Albertans that played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And I did a little bit of research before, just as we started thinking about the Saskatchewan Dugout Stories idea. And there is 25 ladies from Saskatchewan-ish who played in the league. Was probably the most well-represented province of the 68 Canadians that played in the league. So, there's a rich history there. You talk about, we did the story late last year about even the Canadian Baseball League, the ill-fated version. And, there was a Saskatchewan plug in there, and there's been a bit of a love-hate relationship with any kind of semi-pro baseball in Saskatoon because of some of the bridges that have been burned. So getting to your point, dive into those stories. And then the other thing that I've been really kind of fascinated to watch from afar has been the growth of not just the academies and that in Saskatchewan. Obviously, there's been a few of the athletes who've made their way to Alberta to do their thing. And you look at Garrett Hawkins as an example, going to Vauxhall. You look at, there's a few others who've done the same thing. I know Carson Hindmarsh went to Okotoks Dogs as well. So there's a few of those. They've gone on to collegiate level and are playing, pretty good college level or now pro in the case of Garrett Hawkins, in the case of Logan Hoffman as well. So there's a few guys who are percolating in that world now. There was a draft pick from Saskatoon last year as well. So looking forward to kind of not just showcasing the past, but also there's a really cool present and future that's starting to percolate in Saskatchewan as well. And we're going to hear from Greg Bronze in just a little while here on the podcast, talk about what he sees in the scene in Saskatchewan. Ian, before I let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. I think I know the answer to this question. What's the one story you really look forward to telling with SDS?
When you ask me this, I'm always like, I usually have a few in mind, and I do, but I don't always like showing my cards too early. One that comes to mind who is a fairly big name and an obvious name, is Gordie Howe.
Mm-hmm.
Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, was a damn good ball player, and he would do the tournament circuit. He would come to Alberta and play in tournaments. We could have done it in under Alberta Dugout Stories, but that's a Saskatchewan story, and I'd like to dive into that. I've read some biographies on him, and I know, some of that. I've scratched some of the surface on that. I'd like to dive into that, and just the idea of Mr. Hockey also being Mr. Baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and having skills there. And I believe this wasn't so in vogue back then, but limiting what athletes could do in the off season,
Mm-hmm.
that happened to Gordy. Like, it was like, yeah, we know you're playing baseball. Stop it. We don't want you getting injured. The Red Wings were doing that, of course, which makes sense. You don't want him getting hurt. Spikes up at first base when he's trying to win Stanley Cups. So that one comes to mind for sure. I think I'll leave some of the rest for later. We've done some of them
Mm-hmm.
through Alberta Dugout Stories, with the caveat that they just came through Alberta. Like Simmons was the one guy that you mentioned. Marco Gonzalez was another one who played for Saskatoon. I'm also, I think I should mention, like, the Regina Red Sox and Moose Jaw Miller Express, Swift Current, Weyburn. Like, there's some great teams in the WCBL doing great things. And Saskatoon, like Saskatchewan's biggest market, having a WCBL team, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just going to be fun. I don't have a story in mind for that. I just mean, like, as a fan and an observer, watching this next season play out in Saskatoon is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see what's going to happen there, what the reception is. They've come out the gates excellently on social media and love the logo, love the gear. Got the right coaches in place. So I'm pumped to see that unfold and see some of the storylines come from that.
We've been lucky enough to have a lot of the WCBL coaches on the show and profiled in stories over the years. And there's a lot of really cool names, like the fact that Joe Carnahan is coming back and coaching in Saskatoon, but you see Jason Vena going back to Swift Current, and you see some of the other names that are popping up, the Dustin Mollikins and Andrew Albers and those guys, and you're going to see Mr. Williams back in Weyburn again, and being able to really showcase some of those personalities, I think, is going to be great along with the athletes, and we're starting to see some commitments coming for those summer league teams as well, so there's going to be a lot of really cool stories to tell. And to your point, we don't want to tell everybody what we're working on. We'll just tell you that we're working on it. And it's super cool in my books that we're able to shed a light on not just what's going on in Alberta and the great baseball scene that we have here, but obviously to extend that love of the game into Saskatchewan as well. Will there be a podcast? Maybe down the line. this is still a passion project for Ian and I. So time is sort of the essence. And when you have two young kids, it's a little tougher to find that free time. But we are still whittling away at it, and we will continue to grow as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can. So, Ian, on that note, going to let you get going and get to more writing. So we got a lot more work to do apparently. So, first off,
One
thanks.
final note.
Oh, you got to get that final note in. Okay, get in there.
Got to get that final note in. And this note is for Alberta Dugout Stories followers. I don't want anyone worried or concerned that our coverage through Alberta Dugout Stories is going to drop off by any stretch of the imagination. We're still serving that market. We're excited to tell Alberta stories. We're still Alberta guys, and I just want to throw it out there that we're committed to continuing to do great storytelling on the home front as well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And of course, the podcast is going to stay as is, although don't be shocked if we sprinkle in a little Sasky content from here from time to time, because, hey, there's some great personalities, as mentioned, over on the east side as well. Ian, first off, thanks for joining us. But second off, congratulations, my friend. You and I have been doing this now for better part of 6 years now. 7 years, something like that. There's been a few years in here now. It's come a long way, my friend, from this random idea at a bar of just highlighting the Calgary Cannons and Edmonton Trappers to, hey, we're going to do 2 provinces. So congratulations, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you for all your work on that, by the way.
I appreciate the kind words, my friend, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the work we get to put in together with this little side hustle that now we can say we're growing. It feels like we're all grown up now. Anyways, thanks again, Ian. Let's get on to our next guest. And we thought we'd get a state of the game from Baseball Sask. And for that, we turned to high performance director Greg Bronze, who is seeing a lot of growth and potential with the game in the province. Greg, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start here. How would you describe the baseball scene in Saskatchewan right now?
Right now, we've had some years where our registration continues to grow. Even during COVID, when there was less participation, but it seems like everybody kind of came back and it even flourished. So it's good to see that our numbers are still up there, and we're still developing quality players. So it's been great.
Talk a little bit about that evolution, because I know, especially like say here in Alberta, we had that issue where COVID hit and everything kind of hit pause, and there was sort of a lull afterwards. Did you see the same kind of thing, or did everybody get right back at it and wanted to fire back up on the field?
Actually, I think everybody just wanted to get right back at it. There was some uncertainty during those years where it was COVID. We weren't sure what the government was going to allow us to do. I think we were very lucky. Our sport, we didn't really, miss too much for baseball, as compared to hockey. I mean, hockey was completely almost shut down. So, after COVID, I think, things just picked up. I think people were anxious to get outside and play baseball.
Aside from wanting to get back onto the field, what's been key to that growth in your eyes? What's been sort of the buzz on the street about kids getting into the game again?
Well, the old adage of, when the Toronto Blue Jays kind of do well, when they get into the playoffs, it sparks some interest, I think with a lot of families. But also, I think too, especially here in the city of Saskatoon, our facilities are just outstanding. When it's our 15U park with Bob Bessel Field and Jim Baba Field. I mean, those 2 parks are just outstanding for 15U baseball. Our 13U park is second to none for Pee Wee baseball, and even our the 11U field for Kilburn has received a lot of upgrades. So we've got some great facilities here, not only just in Saskatoon but in Saskatchewan. I'd like to see some improvements with our 18U fields. But overall, we've got some great facilities, and plus our indoor facility in Saskatoon has been great for the development of baseball. The Gordie Howe facility, we've got all these batting cages and 2 full-size infields indoors for players to train for all ages. And we're seeing the city of Regina continuing with indoor facilities. We've got people in Swift Current working indoors, and it's just kind of, kind of, like a virus. It's spreading. Everybody's like, "Hey, where can we train indoors so we can get better at the game of baseball?" So it's been great.
It's been such a different change compared to what it was when I was growing up, even, right? Like you're kind of married to that idea of the baseball season being anywhere between 4 and 8 months, depending on when Old Man Winter wants to show up. And now it doesn't matter because they have those facilities in place, especially the indoor, that they can go all year round if they're really dedicated to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, like I remember in the day, it's, maybe we got into a high school gym and played a little bit of catch before we got outside, and then, bang, it was the season, in May, and you didn't really get a chance to really ramp up. Now kids, have a chance to, get a lot of good quality practice in, those months of February, March, and then, hopefully we can get outside in April. So it's been really good for the development of baseball. And we encourage, I think a big thing too is, we don't want to see, players just focus on baseball. I think it's really, really important that these kids play a variety of other sports, to develop their overall athletic ability.
We've talked about the facilities. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the coaching as well. I mean, you see a lot of athletes who are getting to high level, college level, pro levels, and then all of a sudden they're coming back home and giving back in that coaching or mentoring realm. How key has that been to not just the success you're seeing now, but also the long-term success of baseball in Saskatchewan?
Oh, it's been great. Like we have, certain academies that have had, former college players that have played with Team Sask that come back and give back to the game and, impart their wisdom with a lot of the young players here in the province. So, guys like, Morgan Reeder out of Regina, Dustin Mulliken, who's a former major league player, doing a lot of training of players. We've got Martin Academy in Regina. We got Going Yard in Saskatoon. We've got, Andrew Albers, former major league pitcher, working, every day with a variety of players here in Saskatoon. So yeah, it's been phenomenal. We're definitely, seeing the benefits of having some former college and professional and even major league players, working with our players.
Talk a little bit about the umpiring needs that you might have heading into the season. I know that it's always a constant battle, especially now with officiating in any sport, but what are you seeing at the grassroots?
We're seeing, like our umpire registration is kind of, leveled off. What's really helped our umpiring is our mentorship program. Scott Mills, who's our umpire coordinator here in the province, has done a great job, especially here in Saskatoon with umpire mentorship. So what we have is some of the older umpires working with the younger umpires. So for example, at a 11U game, you've got a first-year umpire he's on the diamond, and he or she is, it might be their first game, and then them knowing that they have, one of their mentors that's sitting in the stands, kind of giving them some advice in between innings has been really huge, and also that umpire mentor. If there's a fan that's getting a little bit carried away or a coach, that older person walks over and, kind of reminds them, hey, this is just a first year umpire that's, really trying to develop. So that's been really instrumental in the development of umpires here in the province.
On the athletic side of things, whether it's the provincial boys teams or even the provincial girls teams who've been embroiled in a few battles with the Alberta teams as well, what needs to happen to get you to that next level? What are you looking forward to getting those teams to get into the medal ranks and be top contenders heading into 2024 and beyond?
For both, well, actually, like the boys team, our Canada Cup team, we medaled last year.
Right.
And we medaled the year before, so we defeated Quebec 1-0 in the bronze medal game, and then the year before that we beat BC in the bronze medal game at the Castlemaine game. So we've been in that medal round for a few years and have stayed in the A pool with gold medals in 2016, 2017. Which helped our overall points in regards to staying in the A pool. And our girls team, now that we've got we've hired Tyson Black, who's in charge of the women's programs, and they're doing a lot of off-season training in order for them to, getting that medal contention in the girls program, and especially being that women's baseball will now be part of the 2025 Canada Summer Games. So having somebody dedicated to the women's program is definitely going to be beneficial for Baseball Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm. As you look around at things and kind of do an overarching review, obviously a lot of opportunities here. What are some of the things that you're looking to work on or improve to make the experience and make the program that much better?
Yeah, I think just, giving maybe some of our, high school athletes more exposure, helping them, try to find, college programs and maybe get more exposed to, trying to get on the national team. That's something that I think we have to, continue to improve on, whether it be finding tournaments to increase that exposure. And then I think it's for the girls program, just attracting some very good athletes to girls baseball and providing them and letting them know of the opportunities of baseball in Canada for women. So those are the two things that we really need to focus on. And I think it'll be great for our programs.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people enjoy heading out to the ballpark, especially during the summer, with the biggest draw being the WCBL and a new Saskatchewan family member with the debut of the Saskatoon Berries fast approaching. How big is it to be able to have some high-level summer collegiate baseball back in that community, but in the province as a whole?
Oh, it's going to be great. Having the Berries around is going to be great for the city of Saskatoon, because there's been a lot of Saskatoon players that, have had to go on to, let's say Edmonton or Swift Current or Moose Jaw or Regina to go play in the WCBL, and now they can stay at home. So it's going to be really good for the local players, and it's going to be really good for, I think, the league is having a center like Saskatoon back in it. So it's going to be really exciting for the people in Saskatoon here, and that league is I think it's been very instrumental in helping our players develop. Where they can play against, top level, collegiate athletes, which will help them, as they go into their second or third year university or fourth year university. So it's been great. And then, when you look at some of the past rosters of some of the teams, you've got, Marco Gonzalez that played in Saskatoon, and Dralton Simmons that played for the Yorkton Cardinals, and you get some major league guys that have played in the league, that developed in the league, and go on further. So it's great for the youth to see that here in Saskatchewan.
Not only that, it's that whole idea of you can see it, you can be it almost, right? And how many young guys have been able to make their way through those programs on either side of the border and make it up to a big Division I school or have a pro career of their own, or in the midst of one as well, with Garrett Hawkins as an example, and some of the others who are blazing their own trail now. Yeah,
you bet. Yeah, guys like, Logan Hoffman, who was in the Pirate system. Yeah, Garrett Hawkins, who's just recovering from Tommy John surgery, so he, hopefully that goes well, and he's back on track as being one of the top prospects in the Padres system. So the WCBL was great for him as he pitched for the Swift Current 57s.
When you look ahead to the next 5 years, 10 years, when you look at the overarching scene in Saskatchewan, what does success look like to you?
Oh, that's a good question. 5 or 10 years from now, well, I think in about 5 or 10 years now, there will be a new voice in Saskatchewan. It probably won't be me. I've been at this for 24 years now, and I think, maybe my time's expiring here soon. But, for us to continue, I think is I see success in continuing that upward trend of registration, of attracting players to baseball, because there's opportunities for baseball. It's a lifelong sport. You can play it at age 5. You can play it at age 55. I've seen guys that are 16 years of age playing a kind of a senior fun league here in Saskatoon. It's you create some great relationships and great friends, over the years of playing baseball. So it's not just about, going to play, college or pro baseball. No, it's a lifelong activity, much like hockey here in Saskatchewan. So you can keep playing, and it's great exercise, and you get to meet some great people.
Speaking of those 24 years, you've been around that long. How amazing is it to see the evolution of the sport in this part of the country over the last 24 years?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Here, especially in Saskatchewan, I just can't get over how far we've come in facility development. I remember we kind of started, here in Saskatchewan. I was like, well, it'd be nice to have a batting cage indoors, and so we put a batting cage inside the Saskatoon field house. We kind of had to beg with them to put a batting cage in there. And then we progressed to, okay, there's this old warehouse here in Saskatoon. Let's put some batting cages in there. And then we progressed to the Gordie Howe facility, which is kind of the state-of-the-art facility. And that's, I've seen that kind of, progress over 24 years. And it's not just here in Saskatoon. Then you see it, oh, look what Red Deer has. Mm-hmm. Look what the Langley Blaze are doing, and look what the Ontario Blue Jays are doing. It's phenomenal, and I think it's we're going to see, players really develop because of those opportunities and because of those facilities.
Mm-hmm. Final question for you here, Greg. It's one that we ask everyone here on the show. What does the game of baseball mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Well, I think it's more than just playing the game of baseball. It's just, for me, you just develop some really good relationships, I've seen past players, now that they're getting married, they're having families, they've got their sons in baseball, and it just comes full circle. And I just see the joy that former players have in playing the game and now passing the game on to their families. So that's kind of the biggest joy when it comes down to it. Even more than, winning a national championship in 2016, 2017 with Team Saskatchewan. I think it's just keeping those relationships and seeing, guys that I've coached, over the past 24 plus years in baseball and just seeing them, continue with the game and continue to love the game as much as I do.
Fantastic stuff, Greg. We'll leave it there. Really appreciate the time and you diving into the baseball scene in Saskatchewan. All the best this season and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Hey, thanks so much for this. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks again to Ian Wilson and Greg Bronze for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. Again, Saskatchewan Dugout Stories is live with the website and social media channels. We are looking forward to expanding our baseball storytelling in Western Canada. A tip of the cap to our Platinum supporters for all they do for us and for baseball in Alberta. The Okotoks Dogs and AHP Academy have been integral in helping us cover costs like web hosting fees and subscriptions for services like newspapers.com and newspaperarchive.com. If you'd like to join our roster of supporters either in Alberta or Saskatchewan, email us at albertadugoutstories@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.